go live again. I know I smoke too much. Hello everyone, especially my grandchildren, who hopefully one day I'll see this and I'll see what shit I'm doing. My bed again tonight is covered in all different kinds of paraphernalia. Wonderful thing, a mirror. A mirror is a wonderful thing. Can I get a string of me? If I can get a string of me holding the mirror, like you sometimes see. Okay, so now that's mirror. Razor, mirror. It's quite obvious I haven't had the razor. Let's see what's going on with the war so we know what date it is. Because I haven't got a clue what the date is. I haven't got a clue what the date is. So we'll put YouTube on. And hopefully it'll give us the date. Or with the events, we'll be able to determine the date. Determine it. Trump's ceasefire surrender. Oh, sweet glory be. Help us, Jesus. The Savior is bowing his head in shame, I think. Or frustration, or anger, or probably a stupid because this doesn't look good. Let's play some of the shit.
First time, editor of antiwar.com, Dave DeCamp, and Colonel Lawrence Wilkerson, returning guest, friend of the show, former chief of staff and retired Army colonel. Gentlemen, thanks so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me, Dan.
Yeah, of course. Well, let's get started with the news, the breaking news, which is that it appears that Donald Trump has backed down, has essentially surrendered in a huge way with this 2-week ceasefire that was announced, backing down off of the major strikes, the civilization-ending strikes that he said he was going to launch against Iran 8 p.m. April 7th. He ended up not doing that. Now we have this 2-week ceasefire. I'm just going to pull up what Trump has said and can get your thoughts on it, Colonel Wilkerson, about what exactly has happened here. Here is Trump's initial remarks. He said, a big day for world peace. Iran wants it to happen. They've had enough. Likewise, so has everyone else. The U.S. will be helping traffic build up in the Strait of Hormuz. There'll be lots of positive action, big money. We can go on and on and on. And then Iran says something completely different. The United States has been forced to accept Iran's 10-point proposal, which includes a fundamental commitment to non-aggression, continued Iranian control of the Strait of Hormuz, acceptance of uranium enrichment, lifting of all primary and secondary sanctions, compensation to Iran, and many other things. Colonel Lawrence Wilkerson, help us understand what exactly happened here. We're hearing violations already from the Israeli side in particular, in Lebanon, and strikes on Iran's oil, and Iran apparently has already closed the Strait of Hormuz again because of these violations. So what exactly happened? Why are we in this moment now?
I see two possible outcomes, reasons, causes, whatever you want to call them. One is the standard, and I go back to Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi when he said not once, but twice, the United States has in the middle of diplomatic negotiations, in the middle of them, attacked us, along with Israel. That's one possibility, that we're setting all this up to, again, resume the war with an even greater ferocity, if that's possible. The other possibility is that
Oh, that's
Trump
really good.
somehow realized that he'd walked himself into a cul-de-sac. And he is searching desperately, his TV program comes to mind, for someone to fire, perhaps, and for some way to get himself out. And so he's opted on this. Now, that one is reinforced, I think, as is the first one, though. Let's go back to the first one for just a second. Some of Israel's senior leaders have called this the, quote, political disaster of Israel's history, unquote. So that would be aimed at helping him with the subterfuge. But to the second possibility, also, the big impediment to this is going to be Israel, ultimately. And let's look at what the 10 points said. The 10 points say, we won. They say we won. Go back to the Pakistan-China statement, which Ambassador Friedman gave a great webinar on the other day, and they were not quite so favorable towards Iran in their 5 points. But nonetheless, these points are all, with respect to Iran, either neutral or in their favor, the latter being overwhelmingly so. And yet he said he wants to use them as a template for negotiations, for diplomacy. If that is a sincere move, we're talking about such things as all sanctions being removed, including secondary sanctions, reparations being paid, and other things that clearly mark Iran as the, not just the titular winner of this latest conflict, the overall winner. So I have no idea where we're going from this. My money and my crassness and my senility and my suspicion of Donald Trump would lead me to believe that it's another, as Foreign Minister Arachi declared, another attempt to lull Iran into a moment of diplomacy only to bash them again. But I think we've come to the end of that road. And I think there's no way for Trump to extricate himself from this cul-de-sac, which he almost single-handedly, if you've been paying attention to how he got to this decision, created for himself with the help of his biblical mate, Bibi Netanyahu. And he will be the spoilsport in either way, probably. But I don't know which one's going to happen or what version, modification of the two will happen. But I think we're at a moment of change here that I wasn't expecting this quickly. I was expecting it. I was expecting him to declare victory and leave and let Netanyahu swing in the wind, particularly in Lebanon, where he's swinging in a very violent wind. But he hasn't quite done that, so I've got to stay tuned.
Yeah. Well, Dave, your own assessment. Iran has just announced that the Strait of Hormuz is closed until Israel stops its strikes on Lebanon, and of course, there have been strikes on Iran as well in this period. So, what's your reaction to what has happened here and why we find ourselves in this situation?
Yeah, well, it was also
Remember this from last night.
for me to see Trump come out and announce a ceasefire deal based on Iran's 10 points.
I've got a new plan
And we're already
with a
seeing
1
it.
liter
Just before
Coke
we got
bottle.
on, I saw there was another Truth
And
Social
you're going to
post
see
from
this
Trump.
thing raw.
He got angry.
Imagine this
last
at
night CNN
altitude,
published a
26,000
statement from
feet
Iran's
on Everest.
Security Council,
The small
and
version, the
essentially
collapsible
declaring victory over
version.
the US. He was claiming it was a fake statement.
I've
Then
actually
this
got the
morning he's saying,
collapsible
there's
version
all these
here.
different points and letters that people are publishing, but this
I've
is
got
not
the
what we agreed
collapsible
to.
version,
And now
which will
US
be in
officials are putting
aluminium.
that out to the media. So if Trump is serious about ending this and is actually willing to base it on those points, then I think that there is a chance of a deal. But unfortunately, I find it very hard to believe.
My
as some of those
sunglasses
points
were
say, like lifting
resting
all
on
the
them.
sanctions. I mean, as I understand it, during the negotiations before the war, which
This
I
is the
believe was
Everest
just a
version
ruse to buy time for the
for
build-up.
Mount
But
Everest.
apparently, even in those negotiations, the U.S.
Aluminium.
was offering sanctions really.
That's how it comes.
So you know,
If you
that's
want to
one
boil a
point.
big
Obviously,
pot of
there's
water,
a few other
then
points.
you got to carry
And
this.
we're not really seeing an
It'll
effort
be
to rein
aluminium.
in Israel, which is going to be required
And
if they
then
really want peace. I
when you get to
according to
ABC,
Pakistan's Prime Minister, the ceasefire was supposed to include
you can open
Lebanon.
it
He
up
said that in his announcement.
and you can put a
And
20
then
liter,
what did Israel do? They
you can put a
launched
20
new
liter
operation
drum
in
on there
Lebanon that they're calling Operation
and you
Eternal
can
Dark.
heat the shit out of it.
And they've launched over 100 airstrikes in like a
I'm
matter
going
of
to
10 minutes.
demonstrate that. I'm
Hundreds
going
of
to
people.
put 3 burners in here.
And Trump is telling the media now today that
Yeah,
that
3.
it doesn't include a ceasefire in Lebanon. That's a separate conflict.
For
But
20 liter
as you mentioned
water
with the Strait of Hormuz, every signal from Iran is that
at
they're going to insist on
ABC.
this point with Lebanon.
That's
And
advanced
I
base
just don't
camp.
see Trump really doing what
And
it
if you
takes
fold it
to
up,
get Israel to
you
agree
just
to,
fold it up
really threaten the military aid
and then you
things like
carry
that.
this somehow. I don't know, you can
So
put it on
I
your
agree
head,
with Colonel Wilkerson. You know, his
balance
point,
it on your head,
and I also really have no idea where
carry
this is
it up
gonna
the
go,
fucking
how this is
mountain,
gonna go. But these are certainly bad
and
signs.
your kerosene
Right
in
off
a
the bat. And
liter,
now
1
there's
liter
reporting that
bottle
there could be
or
some kind of talks in
I'd take two
Pakistan
liter bottles up
tomorrow or
Everest with
Friday.
me.
So we'll see. You know,
But
if
yeah,
that
you'll
happens.
always have kick-ass
Yeah,
heat
well, Iran has said
that I'll show you just now when I demonstrate the burner again.
It appears that Iran is setting terms, and it's really the United States and, of course, Israel that are the ones who have to either follow the terms or face consequences. Israel has already rejected the ceasefire, and they have.
So we've all gathered by now what the date is, more or less.
Genocidal on
What is it,
Lebanon.
the 10th?
But it appears that Iran is not in that position that many are fearing, which is
It's the 8th
this ceasefire being kind of a
of
naive
April,
move
baby,
to,
and they
to
fighting.
essentially get a pause to try to strike a deal. It appears that Iran is
People,
very much
them's are
wanting and ready,
fighting.
to retaliate against violations of it. But what do you think of this in terms of
Welcome to live chat. How do I activate live chat?
where this really is?
Where people can come
I
and
think
see
Iran
me.
is one, for all intents and purposes.
Oh, Jesus.
And Iran could face this being totally obviated, even face the diplomacy being interrupted again by a strike, and still win.
Why is
I
Joey
go back to that headline
barking?
in the Haaretz, which I think was very, very accurate. All Iran has
I've got to
do
fix
win
the
is not
ostrich, otherwise I'm going to
all
kill
America has to do to win.
Joey.
Israel too now is
Joey!
spectacular
Jesus.
victory. And this operation in Lebanon is another demonstration of Netanyahu. And I'm not going to say the IDFs because they are performing it basically because he told them to. I don't think there's much heart in doing this in the IDF other than the bloodthirsty nature that they always display these days. What they're being given in Lebanon is their butt on a silver platter by a Hezbollah that was supposed to be roundly defeated. This is worse than July and surrounding time in 2006 when they got their rear end handed to them too. It's even worse than 1982 when we ordered them out when Sharon was leading the Minister of Defense, and they really ransacked a couple of camps and killed a whole bunch of people that they didn't need to kill. This is worse. So I don't
need to
think
clean out all my
Netanyahu's
kitchen
hold
cupboards.
on power is sacrosanct at all now.
But I need
And I
to do
don't think it's much longer to be endured.
because there's
It's
shit
in
there
question
that I
as to
don't
how
need
he's
and
gonna be
I need the space.
outed,
Oh, that
turned
was a
out, or
nice
whatever.
drawing that I did.
But I think he's walking on very perilous ground right now. And perhaps even the U.S. intelligence community, what's left of them that tell the truth and are honest and seeking some policy guidance that might work, might let the president know that Bibi is in trouble with his
I
own.
draw things out of my head.
And
I
it's
can't.
double-pronged trouble.
I
You got
can't
Tommy
find that I
Bennett
can
and others
copy
who are
something
excoriating
accurately.
him for not finishing the job in Gaza. You still have all these Hamas fighters underground, armed, ready to go, and he is not
Please,
eliminated
Jesus,
because his IDF has told him we're not
finish
going into
in
those
Gaza.
tunnels. We are not going into those tunnels. If you will
Figure
leave,
out another
Mr.
plan how to
Prime
get
Minister,
Jesus here.
we'll go in.
This
and
plan
we'll be
ain't
100 meters
working.
behind you. So he's
I'll
got
write
real
that down.
problems. Maybe that's a product
I need to
or
prime my
part
ink
of
pen.
this new willingness
Figure.
of Trump to look at things. Plus, he's been exposed completely. Even in the New York Times and other sycophantic press in this country, he's been exposed, I think, accurately or fundamentally accurately as to how he made the decision to go and principal advice. Who gave him the deal-breaking advice? Over his own counselors.
Wait.
Bibi Netanyahu. How many times has Bibi done that in the past, whether it's Iraq, Syria, Libya, or now Iran? So I think that's getting to be really a dicey business in Israel right now. I stick to my prediction that there will not be a Jewish state in the Levant past about 2030 if it makes it that far. There may be a state there, but it'll have to be democratic, really democratic, and it'll have to entertain all comers.
Get
So that's a changing ingredient in this that I think
Jesus Christ.
others billions of dollars is not going to change. And then looking at the other side of the thing, let's look at the technicalities of some of this too.
How do you
I had
spell
to deal
Jesus
with
with
those
the
facts,
A?
and I had to deal with
G-E-A.
the sanctions,
Jesus.
and I had to deal with the offices that
J-E-S-U-S,
essentially monitor
I
sanctions
think.
compliance, apply sanctions however they're applied to the banking system or through other means. Once I
Jesus
had an individual whom I had
Christ,
great faith
I know
in
that's got
because
an
he had
H
been
in
a
it.
part of working groups that I'd been a part of, and I saw how competent he was. He said, "Do you know how long it would take us to unwind sanctions on just one country? Pick Iran.
T.
Weeks, months, and years, because
Figure out a new way to get
intricate.
Jesus Christ
So
here.
even if we said we were going to lift sanctions, even if the Europeans said they were going to lift sanctions, even if we said secondary sanctions, it'd probably be a year or two before we'd ever be able to affect it really from the Iranians, which was what worried me in many respects about the JCPOA. One or two aspects of it that worried me was because when you say you're going to lift sanctions, you're saying it, and a year later maybe you haven't done it yet. So this is all full of technicalities that are problems too. But I come back to the same thing that we were talking about earlier. I just don't trust this president, and I don't trust this sort of 10
This
points,
method's not working.
success, spectacular success, as being a sheet of paper over which anything is going to come out of that will, in fact, stop this war and discontinue our
This
relationship
method
with Israel, which is poisonous to hell right now, and ruining everything we stand for in the world, if not already ruined. And so I can't see how we get out of it with these points as the orchestration, if you will, of getting out of it, and having anything to say that looks like Donald Trump would accept. So where are we headed? And how are we headed there?
Yeah, well, Dave, we're already getting reports of
This
immediate,
method-
very direct violations.
This
even from
method
Iranian media saying that the United States has begun violating the ceasefire, attacking Tehran. We're hearing that air defenses are
clearly
already
not
acting
working.
Iran for Israeli attacks. Then that leads to the question, then, Dave, that I'd like your opinion on, like, why then go through these kind of motions for the United States and Iran? Because you mentioned all the confusion about what Donald Trump was posting in the Trump administration in the White House. Well, they did post this, the official statement of Iran, accordingly, from Abbas Araghchi. And in this statement, Dave, what really struck me was that it sounded like they weren't even negotiating with the United States at all. That actually they were doing a favor almost, Iran was to Pakistan and the mediators and those who are urging for a little bit of relief and breathing room. But why do you think this is going on? Is it all just smoke and mirrors, or is there something really significant that's happening here?
Well, I think there's a few factors here, and one thing that we've seen over the past few weeks is the Trump administration, and particularly the president himself, really scrambling to deal with the economic fallout of this and putting out just fake information to try to, juke the markets and bring the price of oil down. So I think that could be part of this. And as you mentioned there, that statement from the Iranian foreign minister, it does look like, the U.S. kind of concocted these negotiations, that they got Pakistan kind of to play the mediator, and then they declared that they accepted this 10-point proposal as a basis, and of course they're walking all sorts of things back. So I think
we all know
why there was this kind of display, it was so Trump could try to wind this thing down and also save face, and not just kind of make it clear that he was capitulating in a way here. Though, as you mentioned there, like, it doesn't look like there's a real ceasefire. I mean, even overnight, there's reports of attacks across the Gulf states. I saw the IRGC release a statement about launching attacks overnight against U.S. and Israeli interests in those countries. So is it all, from Iran's perspective, if they see Trump saying that he wants to negotiate off that 10-point proposal, if they think there's a possibility of that, then I would assume that they're going to try it, but they're also making clear that they're not, despite what Hegseth said this morning at his press briefing, he's saying that they're begging for a ceasefire. He's claiming that they can't make drones and missiles anymore, even though they're still firing them across the region. So I'm not surprised really that Iran, is trying this or trying to see what happens here. But when it comes to the U.S., I mean, it's hard to know. This is kind of just what I suspect, that this was all kind of created to try to calm the markets, and so Trump didn't have to look like he was essentially surrendering. I mean, I think the one positive thing here so far is that Trump, he was threatening to destroy the entire country of Iran and the civilization in a night. So at least we didn't see those major airstrikes on power plants that he was threatening, to try to sink the country into darkness. But I'm worried that if this just completely falls apart and the attacks continue, that we might see that, because the U.S. and Israel are showing the only thing that they can do is try to just bomb the crap out of them. We're seeing that in Lebanon.
All I drink,
one thing, I was thinking, I know Israel has a pattern of, before a ceasefire, they really ramp up the bombing. And so I thought maybe that's what we were seeing in Lebanon. But again, all signs point to them, the U.S. not actually putting any pressure on Israel for the ceasefire there. But yeah, I mean, I just see this as, again, that press briefing from Hegseth, and Colonel Wilkerson mentioned that article from the New York Times that revealed this briefing that Netanyahu gave, where in it he guaranteed that the regime change would happen, they wouldn't be able to close the Strait of Hormuz, that their missiles and drones would be destroyed in a few weeks, and none of that happened. And what's interesting about that report is you see it's probably a controlled leak from people within the administration, because it puts just about all of Trump's senior advisors, including Marco Rubio and John Ratcliffe, on the record and saying, I don't know about what Netanyahu was telling you, not sure that it's really going to work, except for one guy. There was one guy who the report said was all in, and that was Pete Hegseth. So I think there is a chance that if this turns into that Trump recognizes this for the disaster that it is, and they might be getting ready to have a fall guy, and that could be Pete Hegseth.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And Colonel Wilkerson, I just want to play exactly the scenario that Dave was just laying out there, that Iran is still firing. I mean, Israel is essentially not part of this ceasefire at all, because not only because it's violating the ceasefire terms with Lebanon on that front, but essentially Israel has given no reason for Iran to include it in the ceasefire. So here's Fox News after the...
Danny, let me just say one thing, a military viewpoint here.
Yeah, sure.
Having witnessed many a ceasefire, having been a part of forces in a ceasefire, having seen it throughout history, having seen Bibi Netanyahu, who I don't think understands what the word ceasefire means. Look anywhere, Lebanon, Gaza, West Bank, whatever. Ceasefires are really hard to implement. When you have a country the size of Western Europe, like Iran is, and you have the IRGC spread everywhere, and every Iranian, and I have this on really good authority, every Iranian was out in the street shooting, or out in the desert shooting at those C-130Js and those Black Hawks and everything else with everything they could muster. So you got the entire Iranian people aroused now with the AK they have in their closet, with the shotgun they have in their front room.
This one, but
You are going to have a hell of a time starting a ceasefire.
Americans haven't gone home yet.
96 hours or longer for the word to get
After
out.
work,
especially
sit back
since
and
we've blown
relax
up
and
all
watch
the
someone
rocket
actually make
communications and other
something.
things. So it's going to take a while before it can impact in a
Instead
way
of putting
that
the
a
Discovery
ceasefire should.
Channel
And
on
then
and
again,
discovering
this was just
fuck
talked
all.
about. Who the hell is going to honor the ceasefire? Is everyone going to honor it? And is it really going to be honored at the top, except in the exception, if you will. So ceasefires are difficult, especially with people like Bibi Netanyahu and others who don't know what the word means.
Yeah, and it appears Iran exactly is very aware of this. Here are a few reports. So Iran, even as we speak, is still striking
These are the
Israel
shit.
and also the Gulf region because
I could
there are reports that there was a
advertise
US,
anything.
Israeli
I'd
attack coming out of the
advertise
UAE
Spar
on
Bakery
an
white
oil
pita
refinery in Iran.
bread.
But here's a couple reports.
They put a lot of
or
sugar
so
in
from
it.
each of them.
It's fantastic. And salt.
Well, Jesse, as anticipated, the
Fantastic
sirens
for
are now
me.
wailing over Tel Aviv, indicating that another missile is inbound.
Missiles
looks
are
like
coming and
those
left, right,
bright
and
lights in the
fucking
sky
middle,
are the
Jack.
missiles, and it looks like
We
you
got
can
us
see that
some missiles
interceptor
coming
that is
in.
in hot pursuit.
All the
of the
highly
missiles.
precision
And,
ones
and so
are
it's quite
wasted up,
dramatic when you see
and they're
those
missing
interceptors
the
going after it.
Iranians by a
These ones might
mile,
disappear
my mate.
behind our
Even
building
the
here when we lose sight of
Australians
them.
are saying, what the fuck
But
you
they're still
doing, my
quite
mate?
lethal and coming into Tel Aviv, and I didn't see an interception in this case.
So there was that scenario. Then Fox, it's really Fox News has been the only one reporting on these things
Where's
in
my other
many
phone?
cases because they're the ones who are panicking the most about this war.
The president's announcement.
But here is the report on the Gulf.
Well, Dana, the president's announcements have been addressing the ceasefire between Iran and the United States, and in general, peace here in the Middle East. But we can report today there is not peace here. In fact, the country we're in, the UAE, says it's been taking incoming fire from Iran, writing the UAE's air defenses are currently engaging with missile and drone attacks originating from Iran. The Ministry of Defense confirms that the sounds heard in various parts of the country are the result of the UAE air defense systems intercepting ballistic missiles, cruise missiles, and drones. Also, Kuwait reporting the Kuwaiti air defenses have been dealing since 8 a.m. today and up to now with an intense wave of hostile Iranian criminal attacks where 28 drones were intercepted that targeted the state of Kuwait.
So, there's the report, and we have, Dave, I definitely, and then Carl Wilkes, so you can react to this. We have now footage of direct impact, especially on the UAE, because, as I said, there was an oil refinery in Iran, the Lavan Island oil refinery, and here's the UAE today, just after this,
Maybe
targeting
he's busy wanking.
an oil refinery there. So,
Whatever the fuck he's doing.
Dave, how about you step in? Just
Definitely not fucking.
ceasefires are hard to implement, as Colonel Wilkerson said. In many cases, it seems like we're just in another phase of this war.
Yeah, and I saw something. This was just like something I saw on X. I don't know if this is confirmed at all, but there was the U.S. and Israel denied that they bombed that oil facility in Iran.
Yeah, sure they
And there was some report that it could have been the UAE, a UAE fighter jet or something that bombed it. Which again, I don't know if that's confirmed, but there have been indications that the UAE, the Emiratis and the Saudis have wanted this, at this point, want this war to continue. And I could also see Trump being like, well, why don't you guys do it? You guys start, getting some hits in.
Why don't you guys go there?
And,
You guys
and then,
started that
with
shit.
this administration, I mean, it's so clownish.
You
They
guys
just
started that
brazenly lie
shit.
so much that I can see them say, like, oh, no, the ceasefire's fine. Even though, like, both sides are firing missiles and bombing each other. I wouldn't put it past them to try to portray this as being a great success. That's something we saw with Trump with the ceasefire in Gaza.
One of these
The
nozzles
media pretty much ignored the
would
ceasefire,
fit my
so-called
airbrush.
ceasefire in Lebanon, so he was never really asked about that. But
Really?
for
I'm
more
sure
than a
I've
year,
got a-
Israel was bombing, was attacking
I've got a
Lebanon
big lighter
without facing
somewhere.
a
All
single
the big
attack.
lighter. Maybe
from
that
Hezbollah.
nozzle will fit my airbrush.
And this is another reason why it makes all this so difficult, because how is Iran supposed to really believe anything they say, especially after being bombed during the negotiations, and then the way that these ceasefires have gone down. And an important detail is that both the ceasefire in Lebanon and the one in Gaza, I mean, I shouldn't even call them ceasefires, the de-escalation deals. The U.S. is supposedly like monitoring them, is like the oversight of these, and of course, because the U.S. is totally on one side, that it doesn't do anything when Israel constantly violates them. So there's just no trust. They have really just the way that they've carried themselves diplomatically. It's just there's gonna need to be goodwill and trust for like a real deal to happen here, and it seems like that. It's just hard to imagine of the U.S. and Iran coming to terms like that.
Yeah, Carl Wilkerson step in here. I mean, Iran has said they don't trust the U.S. one bit in this scenario. So then why do it then?
Yeah, if I were they, I wouldn't trust us either. And Dave is absolutely right. We tracked from EMN, we tracked the days of the ceasefire in both Lebanon and Gaza. There was not a single day that Israel didn't kill somebody. And then they always came up with some kind of excuse. They crossed the yellow line. Oh, they got close, whatever. But there was not a single day. I got to asking the question, what in Hebrew is ceasefire? Does Netanyahu not understand what it means? No, he doesn't understand what it means. He doesn't want to understand what it means. So you have that too, and it's an issue. It's a big issue in my view. And in Lebanon, it's a particularly big issue because they have killed people every single day of the quote ceasefire. Unquote. It's just an additional ingredient in what may be to come, and how Israel has the capacity to screw up whatever has to come. I don't put it past Trump, though, to be complicit with that.
No, one thumbs up.
I was just going to
But
say, I
who's
think
watching?
one big difference here with
I can't
Iran,
see
and I think
who's
one of Israel's big goals, both during the last war and this war, was to get Iran to the
I've
point
got
where they
2
could bomb them,
spark plugs
at their
from
will
a
without having
Honda.
to worry about getting hit by their missiles. And
from a Harley
turn them,
Davidson.
where they
This
have to
one's
worry
a
about air defenses like Lebanon. They can just
UK,
fly over them and bomb them, but they haven't
whatever.
gotten
I hope
anything
it's hot.
close to that.
And
So,
I
maybe
wonder what
could see different
Harley
behavior out of them
Davidson
when it
uses,
comes to this one.
hot or cold plugs.
And we
I prefer hot plugs because then it burns all the shit off.
I think it's reliable too.
No,
On the missiles,
my poor
everything from David
airbrush, my
Sling
brother's
to
poor
Goliath,
airbrush.
whatever, the Iron Dome
fucked up.
components, to things we were supplying like THAAD, Patriot 1, 2, and 3, and all of
I
the,
think the little goodie,
the different types of anti-air defense missiles. And we saw 2 days,
Joey!
4 days, 7 days, 9 days, 12 days.
I
That's
can't
remaining
see.
stocks. So one reason you're not seeing many Israeli missiles go up is because they don't have them.
I can't see
And
if
the ones
it's
they do have,
broken.
they're husbanding because they want to shoot them at the Karam Shahs and others that are coming in that really do
You know, the
extensive
front
damage.
part is broken
So
off
that's
of it.
another element in this too, is that Iran is actually, I think, if you want to say winning, whatever the hell that means in a war like this, winning
I've got to,
the battle with
I've
Israel,
got to pull
even
this
though it's using primarily, if not
pin
exclusively,
back,
drones and ballistic
the needle,
missiles and other missiles in between.
and then
With the
even
Karam
just a
Shahs
bit
and
more.
really fast missiles that
Why
can
is it
cause damage
still
because there's really no
correct?
defense against them, which is a really powerful
You
statement
pull
for
it
Americans
all the way
to be
away
listening
so I
to in
don't feel the
particular, because
prick.
that's what the Golden Dome is going to do for you. Think about the huge territory of the United States, $1 trillion
Need to my
to build
finger
this
a
thing,
little
and
bit
it'll
back.
be about as effective as
Lock it
Israel's
in,
Iron Dome
and then
is
see
now
if this
under
front thing.
relentless strikes. It will not work, in other words. I hope we're taking that lesson from this. I doubt it, but I hope we are.
Yeah, I mean, the news now, Dave, is that 154 at least, or I think it was 254. Let me get those numbers straight. 254 now people in Lebanon have been killed.
No, it fell out.
Yeah, killed now. That's the latest. I mean, it keeps updating every minute. It
Well,
seems
that's
like,
good news.
given, and this feels like we heard
The
all the
street
panic
threat
from
is
Mark
there.
Levin and, Israeli officials saying they
So-
were informed late about this ceasefire. Obviously, it wasn't their idea to even go this direction rhetorically or anything
You
of the
find
sort.
out what now it is.
So now it seems like they're lashing out.
Maybe I
Iran
can
has just
make one
said,
of my
Dave, that they're
Make one of my little
delivering a
legs.
heavier blow to Israel if they don't stop it. Trump must choose between a ceasefire
Make it out of plastic.
war with Iran by
Make it out of
Israel. Your
plastic.
reactions?
Yeah, I mean, it seems
high
like this issue is
density
going to be forced. Like I said before, I could see them trying to claim that
plastic.
everything's going great, but with this, I mean,
Stick it
hundreds of
in,
people. I mean,
give
Lebanon's
it a
such
whirl.
small
I just
country
need
with
it
a
to
population
spray
of 5
nicely.
million.
That's all. I'm not
Killing that many people
not
in
doing
a single day,
calligraphy
I mean,
with
it's
the
just
thing.
horrific.
And they're
I'm
mostly
spraying
civilians, too.
Tim's piece of
They're
shit
not
bike.
fighters.
How
that's
do
gonna be a hard
I
time feeling
identify
that.
my
Yeah.
airbrush?
Yeah.
What
it's
kind
the
of
way they
airbrush
know how to
is this?
do things now is just kill a lot of civilians from.
Is it a
from the
Jan
sky.
Makker plan?
So yeah, I mean, I think
I got it.
And so
I
far,
got it
you know, I haven't seen any indication
sealed
from
at the
Trump
bottom
that he's
here
going to
with
put pressure on
string.
Israel for them to stop in Lebanon. So if that
If the
doesn't happen,
name's there,
then there was just
then
ceasefires off,
I
and
don't
there never
know.
really was a ceasefire. But so we'll see. I mean, I'm sure Trump might be deliberating things. He might be
Trump
offering a
deliberates.
new Truth Social post
He's
about this.
either
Maybe he'll wait for the markets to close, though.
lying there thinking, this
Yeah,
is
Colonel
so
Wilkerson,
nice.
jump in. I mean, I think
I'm
the one thing
enjoying
I hope
myself
people
so
note is
much.
that while Iran is engaging
I
in
mean,
this
what is the
ceasefire
man actually
arrangement, whatever we
thinking?
want to call this right now,
Is he
they
saying,
seem very
thinking,
determined to
oh
continue
my
the war
God, I
if
fucked
they-
it up,
if they
man.
have to,
I
if these
fucked
terms
it
are
up.
not
What is he
in good
thinking?
faith moved on. So,
I mean,
your thoughts?
I have friends. I have friends that actually fucking like the guy.
They're confused. I'm just
And
looking
think
over
that he
these
should be
10 points again.
president. I actually have friends.
Whole idea of
It's,
the
I don't know.
plan from China
I
and
don't know
Pakistan,
if it's
which
worse having
Ambassador
friends that
elaborated
are
on quite
that
extensively.
believe
No
in
one
an
was listening much.
invisible imaginary friend.
And now this
I don't know the classification,
If
but
you
I think
read
I'd
them
rather
down,
have
look
you
at them, they all make sense.
have an
They all make
invisible
sense
imaginary
from
friend
not just
than
an Iranian
like Trump.
perspective, which of course was Iran's intent, but they make sense from a law of land warfare, law of warfare in general, international law, Nuremberg tribunals, Geneva Convention. They make sense from the perspective of things that the United States of America, however imperfectly, used
That
to
shit
be
you can make
the upholder
make
of, and
slices
the main
of this.
enforcer of. Always backsliding there. But nonetheless, on a momentous post-World War II move, essentially to stop World War II, World War I, both the same war, different
World War
theaters,
VI,
different
World
time
War
spans.
VII, because
From
you
ever
cunts
happening
aren't
again.
gonna stop, are you?
In other words, to
You
stop
ain't gonna
what we did
stop
to kill
fighting
5
about
million people in the Second
oil and shit.
And maybe
You should just,
all
the only thing you should be fighting about
other
is
things introduced by the
pleasing
war.
your woman.
Half of that in the
But
first
no one
to never
picked
have
this
it happen.
memo up.
That was the purpose.
The imaginary
of the
friend
United
never
Nations.
gave the
That was
memo.
the purpose Dwight
All
Eisenhower
you
through
meant
his
to do
full
is
military
respect and
weight
honor
his
your
presidential
woman.
weight behind the
For
United Nations.
Christ's sake.
That's the reason Dwight Eisenhower gave a speech, not at the end of his 8 years, but at the very beginning, essentially saying, and this is a direct quote almost, if I can get my mind to
A
work,
direct
this
quote.
is no way of life at all.
No,
Not
it's
in
not.
any true sense. It is humanity hanging from a cross of iron. And he was talking about what he foresaw happening if we didn't maintain the institutions, the policies, the relationships that were created out of this incredible angst over what had happened to the world in 2 world wars. Let's stop it, they said. And they had nuclear weapons to help stop it, if you think that's a helpmate. But they nonetheless put in place all manner of checks and balances and no-go here, no-go there. Came close in Cuba, even closer in Berlin in the hot summer of 1961. Far more serious crisis than Cuba was, because Berlin was strategic for the Russians. The GDR was disappearing. It was strategic for them, very serious. Cuba was just a gambit, and they were willing to back up from that. That's not the way history has recorded it, because Cuba was 13 days of drama. Berlin was long, hot summer of terror, especially for the people living in Germany. Ask any of them that are still alive.
Ask
So
them.
we did
They'll,
all
them
that,
will tell ya.
and look at what we've done
Wonder where
since
that
9/11.
thing is.
We have destroyed.
Where I scooped it.
We are the leading power in the world. For a president to stand up and say that he is going to commit war crime after war crime after war crime to decimate another country of 93 million people, a country with a history that just befuddles Donald Trump. Bomb him back to the Stone Age, and back comes the Speaker of the Majlis, I think it was. Okay, here's a map of us in the Stone Age. We encompass the Mediterranean basin. You know, Bob us back to the Stone Age. Thank you very much. I mean, this is absurdity, Danny. And yet, we're witnessing it. And we're witnessing it from Thomas Jefferson and George Washington and James Madison's Republic.
Yeah, well, Dave, even in the talks about the ceasefire, it gets more and more ridiculous and almost insulting from Donald Trump. I mean, he takes the Truth Social and he says all of these things, and here just completely contradicting. Generally when a deal is made, both sides are doing their best not to contradict each other. But every time Donald Trump engages and the United States engages in a so-called deal or so-called agreement, it always contradicts the other side. Here, he's talking about how there's been a productive regime change in Iran. There will be no uranium enrichment. They're going to send B-2 bombers to remove all the nuclear dust, quote unquote. And there will be special surveillance. Basically, the United States is in control here, and that's the messaging, of course, and it's a lot of words and bluster, but it completely contradicts everything that Iran has said, and this is where we stand in this 2 weeks. Even the number 2 weeks is kind of a fixation, it seems like, of Donald Trump and the administration.
Yeah, that was his initial deadline, I think. But it's just more signs that this thing is going to likely fall apart if it hasn't already. And I would expect, one thing I wouldn't be surprised if we see later today is like, if Iran doesn't get its act together, then power plant and bridge day is back on. I'm going to obliterate the country, or unless he got enough, because there was a lot of pushback from that, especially his threat yesterday when he said an entire civilization will die tonight.
I wonder if a change of scenery would do something.
Couldn't have a better declaration of genocide, could you?
Jesus. Our phone gave me an emergency thing. Let's get it all in. Let's see what spammerization there. There's nothing to spam. See if we can get out spammed. Add Q&A sticker. Bugs have thoughts. Bugs have thoughts. I don't know. Okay. And also we got your. I can see we need before we swap around. Lights. Effect. No, I don't want effects. Okay, good. Right, we switch the camera around. We find a decent part of the camera. Open this lighter because I need the hardware. You need the hardware. I need a saw, baby. I need a saw. Not a hurtful saw. I need a saw, baby. I need a saw. Oh, I don't want to go through. I hope I didn't go through something important. I don't lose that. I don't want to lose that. I'll put it over here. Okay, now I suppose I can cut that like off down there. See what happens. I should get what I want. Yes, I wanted the piece of brass inside there. The big lighter, the best lighter in the world. Big. Flick your big. That's what it looks like inside a big lighter after you've destroyed it. And just make one refillable, but with all the shit gas around, you can't put gas, you can't refill your lighter because the Chinese are giving you a thing of shit gas. It stinks and it doesn't work in your lighter. It actually breaks your lighter. Yeah, good old Chinese, eh? I mean, God bless them, but shit. Some of them produce utter crap. Okay, so where am I going now? I've got warming my supper in the oven. I need to cut this piece out. And along with the other piece, I'll be able to formulate a valve. These are the one piece that came out of the lighter's little burner, and I want that because that is nice. I like that. That fits into that brass piece, and I need them for a certain function. And it's got a filter. It looks like it might have a filter in it. Hope it's got a filter. Then I'll be golden. Okay, where do I go now? I go